4 years into the invasion, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is evolving in unexpected and troubling ways. What began as a conventional war with clear front lines has now spilled deep into the heart of both nations, transforming the daily reality for millions. Violence is no longer confined to the battlefield. Increasingly, law enforcement and security personnel, once considered safe far from the front, are now being targeted in cities and towns, sometimes hundreds of kilometers from active combat. In Mykolaiv, a devastating explosion at a gas station left 7 police officers wounded, 2 of them fighting for their lives. Ukraine's security service has labeled this a terrorist act, underscoring the growing threat to those tasked with maintaining order. Similar attacks have rocked other cities, including Dnipro and Lviv. In Lviv, a deadly blast tore through a busy shopping center, killing and injuring civilians and police alike. These incidents have sent shockwaves through communities, heightening fears and signaling a dangerous new phase of the war, one where no place feels truly safe. Ukrainian authorities point the finger at Russia, alleging that attackers are being recruited and coordinated through encrypted messaging apps like Telegram. Officials warn that these tactics are designed to destabilize Ukrainian society, undermine public trust in law enforcement, and spread fear far beyond the front lines. But Ukraine is not alone in facing these threats. Russia, too, has seen its own police and security forces come under attack. A deadly bombing near Moscow's Savyolovsky train station left the city on edge, as investigators combed through the aftermath for clues. These incidents reveal how the conflict's reach now extends well beyond the front, blurring the lines between traditional warfare and acts of terrorism. Both Ukraine and Russia are grappling with a new reality, where internal security is under constant threat, and the distinction between soldier and civilian is increasingly unclear. For Ukraine, these attacks are calculated to create panic, sap morale, and force authorities to divert precious resources away from the war effort. For Russia, the violence brings the consequences of the conflict directly to its own cities, shattering any sense of distance from the war. The focus has shifted dramatically from soldiers on the front lines to police officers and emergency responders in urban centers. This shift has created a pervasive sense of vulnerability, as ordinary people witness the war's impact in their own neighborhoods. This evolution marks a dangerous new chapter in the conflict, where asymmetric violence and unpredictable attacks challenge both nations' ability to maintain order and protect their citizens. The shadow of war now falls over daily life, making security a constant concern for millions, reminding everyone that in this conflict, no one is truly beyond its reach. European energy politics have become a new battleground, with Slovakia suspending emergency electricity support to Ukraine. Prime Minister Robert Fico claims Ukraine is blocking Russian energy transit, threatening Slovakia's vital supplies, a charge Kyiv denies. This standoff exposes the strain on European unity, as countries weigh support for Ukraine against their own economic needs. Fico has linked energy disputes to Ukraine's EU membership prospects, warning of reduced support if Slovak interests are harmed. The move reveals cracks in Europe's alliance, as Russia's influence grows by exploiting these economic dilemmas. Rising costs and energy dependence are fueling political friction, making collective action harder to sustain. Moscow benefits as divisions deepen, turning energy security into a powerful tool of leverage. The European Union's once unified front on sanctions against Russia is now showing clear signs of strain. What began as a strong collective response to Moscow's invasion of Ukraine has become increasingly complicated as cracks emerge within the bloc's ranks. Hungary has taken center stage in this standoff, vetoing the latest sanctions package over deep concerns about its own energy supplies and economic stability. Prime Minister Viktor Orban's government argues that further restrictions would hurt Hungarian families and businesses, making it impossible to support measures that threaten the country's energy security. This public split exposes the EU's ongoing struggle to balance the need to punish Russia with the immediate priorities of its member states. The debate has grown more heated, with some leaders warning that national interests are starting to overshadow the bloc's shared values and long-term goals. Hungary's insistence on prioritizing its own energy security marks a significant shift toward national interests, raising questions about the future of EU unity. Other countries quietly share similar concerns, even if they haven't voiced them as openly. The failure to pass new sanctions not only weakens a crucial tool for pressuring Russia, but also emboldens dissent within the bloc. The inability to act decisively sends a message of division, both to Moscow and to the world. In Moscow, these divisions are seen as an opportunity. Russian officials watch closely as EU resolve appears to waver under mounting economic and political pressure, hoping to exploit any rifts that emerge. If the EU cannot find consensus on sanctions, its broader support for Ukraine could also begin to erode. The unity that once defined the bloc's response is now at risk, with potential consequences for Ukraine's fight and Europe's credibility. The Hungarian veto may set a precedent, encouraging more open dissent from other member states and threatening the EU's ability to present a united front in the face of external threats. Now, the bloc faces a critical test. Can it maintain the solidarity needed to confront Russian aggression, or will internal fractures undermine its response and reshape the future of European unity? Ukraine's war is also a battle over language and identity, with fierce debate about the role of Ukrainian versus Russian. Many see promoting Ukrainian as vital to resisting Russian influence, arguing that language is tied to sovereignty and security. Policies and grassroots efforts push for Ukrainian in public life, aiming to break from Russia's colonial legacy. Yet Ukraine remains bilingual, and many Russian-speaking citizens are fighting for the country's survival. For them, the debate can feel divisive, despite their loyalty. The war has accelerated de-Russification, but balancing unity with linguistic diversity remains a challenge. How Ukraine navigates this cultural front will shape its future as much as any military victory. The information war is as fierce as the fighting, with both Ukraine and Russia making bold claims of battlefield success. Ukraine recently announced a counter-offensive in the south, claiming to have liberated territory, though independent verification is lacking. Russia counters, with its own reports of advances, but the front line remains largely static. Both sides use these narratives to boost morale and shape perceptions, making facts hard to discern. President Zelensky accuses Russian commanders of hiding losses, adding to the fog of war. For the world, the result is a confusing stream of contested reports where truth is elusive. Technology has transformed the front line into a robotic kill zone, dominated by drones and constant surveillance. Drones, from simple quadcopters to advanced attack models, now dictate tactics, making movement perilous and increasing casualties. Soldiers face relentless anxiety, knowing they're always watched and vulnerable to sudden strikes. Both sides innovate rapidly, developing new drones and countermeasures in a high-stakes arms race. Ukraine has ramped up domestic production, while Russia leverages industrial scale and foreign partnerships. The result is a deadly equilibrium, with neither side able to gain a decisive edge. Drone warfare has expanded the battlefield, putting infrastructure and civilians at risk far from the front. The psychological and human toll is immense, as no one feels truly safe. Amid the ongoing violence and devastation, faint signals of diplomacy are beginning to emerge, offering a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak landscape. Ukrainian officials have started to hint at the possibility of renewed talks with Moscow, suggesting that dialogue, though difficult, is not entirely off the table. Meanwhile, reports indicate that Russia may be softening some of its most hardline public demands, and is no longer insisting on regime change in Kyiv as a precondition for peace, a notable shift from earlier rhetoric. Yet, the main obstacle to progress remains the question of territory, specifically, the fate of regions currently under Russian occupation. Russia's continued hold on these occupied areas is blocking any meaningful breakthrough, making compromise extremely challenging. President Zelensky has made it clear that elections in Ukraine can only take place if there are strong and credible security guarantees for all citizens, underscoring Ukraine's unwavering insistence on maintaining its sovereignty and territorial integrity, regardless of external pressure. Both sides remain deeply mistrustful of each other, with years of conflict and broken agreements fueling skepticism. Any future negotiations will be fraught with difficulty, as each side weighs the risks and potential losses. For Russia, this apparent shift in demands may be more tactical than genuine, a move designed to gain leverage or buy time. Meanwhile, Ukraine faces painful choices about its future, forced to weigh the costs of continued war against the difficult compromises that peace might require. The renewed talk of negotiations is notable and has captured international attention, but a comprehensive settlement remains distant, with many hurdles yet to be overcome. The path to peace will be long, uncertain, and shaped by both the realities on the battlefield and the political will of leaders on both sides. As the world watches, the outcome of these tentative diplomatic moves could determine the future of Ukraine and the stability of the region for years to come. 4 years in, the war has become a complex struggle fought across political, military, and cultural fronts. Violence now targets security forces, energy disputes threaten European unity, and debates over language shape Ukraine's identity. The EU's resolve is weakening, with national interests rising above collective action. Technology has redefined the battlefield, making large offensives costly and fueling a grinding stalemate. Both sides turn to asymmetric tactics, from drone strikes to targeted attacks far from the front. The information war rages, with contested claims shaping global perceptions. Modern conflict is total, fought in every domain: political, cultural, and military. The outcome will depend on endurance, identity, and the ability to adapt in a rapidly changing world.